All right, so remember that the purpose of this unit is to come up with an equation based on the information they're giving us, right? We spent a lot of time focusing on slope-intercept form. Remember, that's the one that's y is equal to mx plus b. So you guys should be pretty comfortable with that for a lot of this, right? The key thing here is you need two things, right? You need to know we need m and b. And if we don't have those things, we can figure those out, right? But there is another format which can be very helpful depending on like what information the question is actually giving us, and that's called point slope form. Okay, it's going to look a little bit different, maybe even slightly confusing, but it's actually very helpful depending on the information they give us, right? So point slope form. Essentially, you can think of it like this, right? Slope intercept, the mx plus b, is right in the name, right? You need a slope and you need an intercept. Point slope form, again, right in the name, you need a point and you need a slope. You need m and you need a point, like an xy coordinate. Okay, so here's what it looks like. Don't get intimidated because it does look very weird at first. Okay, what is this? Y minus y1 is equal to m, oh sorry, not a, m times x minus x1. Okay, and again, there's certain things we need to have, right? So point slope form, we need, sorry, we need m and at least 1 point. In other words, they have to give us like a coordinate, right? So we can just kind of, that's where these x1 and y1 is coming from. So they have to give us a single coordinate, at least one. They can give us more, but we need at least one coordinate for our x1, y1 values, okay? So there are some similarities and differences between these two formats. I'm gonna grab a highlighter real quick. So for slope intercept, like I was saying, the two things you need is you need m and you need b, right? Slope and intercept. Point slope form, you need m still, so that's still something that we need. But then we also need an a y1 and an x1, okay? And those are the things we'll be replacing in the question. It'll make more sense when you see an example, okay? But that's the general idea. Is we're gonna look for those two key things, m and a key point, okay? All right, so let's go and look at an example. Let me scroll down a little bit. And like I said in the last video, all of the questions, they always start off the same way, right? So it's going to start off by saying this. Write the equation of a line that, and then look at the rest of this in a second. So it always starts off with that. Write the equation of a line that, and then they're going to give you some information, right? They could give you a slope and an intercept, which in that case, you would use the mx plus b. They could give you 2 points, which we kind of looked at in the last video, of like, well, find the slope and then go from there. Or they could give you like a slope and 1 point, which is what this question is going to do. So write the equation of a line that goes through -8, 3, and has a slope of 1/4. Okay? The first thing you want to do with these questions is always identify what it is they're actually giving you and label it, right? Do we have an M? Do we have a B? Do we have an X1, a Y1? What do we have? Okay. Well, the easy one here is the slope because they literally just said the word slope, right? So we know they're giving us the slope. So we know that 1/4 is our M value, okay? So right now we could be using either format, slope intercept or point slope. But then they also gave us this coordinate over here. And because they give us a coordinate, they're telling us, well, that's going to be the x1, y1 values. It's a coordinate, okay? So we are going to go with point slope form, obviously here, because there's a point and a slope, okay? Now here's what I would recommend. Let me scroll down a little bit more. I would always start by writing the general equation down first, and then just replace the pieces we're plugging in. So here's the equation again. Y minus y1 equals a times x minus x1. Sorry, not a. It should be m. Let me erase that real quick. All right, so there we go. Okay, and then we're gonna replace the things that we have. Now be very careful. The minus signs that are in the equation stay as is. And then if a number has a minus sign by itself, it's gonna have double negatives. So this is what I mean. So we can write it like this. Y minus, leave some space for you to plug in that y1, leave some space for to plug in that m, and then x minus, and leave some space to plug in the x1. Now let's plug in the missing pieces. So our y1 value is up here. So y1 is 3. So I just plugged it in. Our m is over here. It's the 1/4. So we're going to plug that in right here. And here's what I was saying about the double negative situation. Our x1 has a negative by itself. So we're still going to write that in there, and it looks like this. We do end up with a double negative. Okay? So make sure the minus signs that are part of the equation, the formula, write those down first, and then plug in the value, just in case there's a double negative. Now we just got to clean it up and then we're done. Okay? And when I say clean it up, like I'm mainly looking at those double negatives. We know what to do with those, right? Two negatives and make a positive. So really this equation is y minus 3 equals 1/4 times x plus 8. Okay? Now, if the question does not specify like which format to use, you get to choose. And we chose to use slope intercept. Or sorry, we chose to use point slope form here, right? Well, this equation as is written in point slope form. Okay? So if the question does not say like make sure you write your answer in slope intercept or point slope, then you can kind of choose. So this is in point slope form. Okay? However, a lot of times they want you to keep going to get back into slope intercept, basically get back to mx plus b. Okay? So to do that, we just gotta go 2 more steps. All right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this 1/4 and we're gonna multiply it out. Now, don't let the 1/4 scare you. It's gonna work out nicely, right? So 1/4 times x is just 1/4 x. Pretty easy, right? 1/4 times 8, well, that's the same thing as saying, well, what's 8 divided by 4? Okay, well, that's 2. So that wasn't too bad. It worked out nicely. Okay, and then over here we still have that y minus 3. And now we need to get the y by itself. So we need to move that -3. So going back to our algebra solving equation skills, it's negative, so we can add it to the other side. Okay, line across. These are gone. And now we have y is equal to 1/4 x plus 5. And that's in slope-intercept form. Okay, so pay attention to what the question specifically asks. If it doesn't mention it, then you can choose, right? So this is slope-intercept. And the top one is point slope. Okay, they are both correct because the question did not specify which format they want you to use. Okay, so whichever one you start off with, you can finish it with that one, or you can provide both. It's up to you. But if the question does not specify, then you can choose. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and have you guys try one on your own. Let's scroll down. All right, so I'm not going to write out the entire equation again. So remember, it always starts off, or the question, it always starts off with write the equation of a line, so dot, dot, dot. We already know what the question says. Write the equation of a line that. And let's say it's a line that goes through 3 comma -1 and has a slope of -2. Okay. And because the question is not specifying, you can use point slope or you can use slope intercept. I would recommend point slope for this one. Okay. So here's the equation again in case you need to have it in front of you. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. All right, go ahead and pause the video at this point, try it out, and then when you're ready to check your answer, go ahead and press play. All right, so hopefully you had a chance to try it out. Again, you should start out by labeling the points, or labeling the information. We know we have a x1 and a y1 and an m because of slope. Okay, so let's write it out. So y minus, leave some space for m, x minus, leave some space for the x. Okay, I'm gonna go a little bit quicker. Hopefully you already tried it. Y1 is -1, so we are going to have a double negative in there. And then x1 is 3, and then m is -2. Okay, let's clean it up. We do have that double negative, so this is going to become positive. Okay, and you are allowed to stop here because the question does not specify which format. So this is point slope. Now, if you kept going, you would distribute that -2. So we'd multiply this out, and we get something like this. Y plus 1 equals -2x plus 6, because they're double negatives. -2 times -3 is positive 6. And then that last step would be to get rid of that 1 by subtracting it to the other side. And there we have slope intercept.